Welcome back from lunch. Thank you all for returning on time so we can resume our afternoon program. And how about everybody say hello to our virtual viewers, 500 or more people around the state. Let them know they're here with us in the room in spirit. Thank you all for listening in today, and to everyone here in person. When we talk about the Master Plan for Aging, our whole of government approach, of course, that includes our state legislature. The legislature is a key Master Plan for Aging partner, taking an active leadership role to ensure legislation and budget actions are a statement of our shared values. We are so fortunate this afternoon to have joining us Assembly Majority Leader Cecilia Aguiar Curry, representing the 4th District. The 4th District includes Colusa, Lake, Napa, Sonoma, and Yolo counties. Assemblymember Aguiar Curry serves on the Assembly Health Committee, and she is a member of the California Legislative Women's Caucus, of longstanding and currently serves as the Vice Chair of the Women's Caucus. She is also a member of the California Legislative Latino Caucus and the California Legislative Native American Caucus. In addition to those roles, she serves as the Majority Leader of the California State Assembly. Please help me welcome Assemblymember Aguiar Curry.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Well, it is a pleasure to be here, and thank you for that introduction, Susan. I sometimes forget where I'm from because I feel like I'm everywhere nowadays. And thank you to sharing your lunchtime with me, and it's great to see everyone. For those that do or don't know me, I grew up about 35 miles west of here in a small town of Winters, California. And my dad was a high school agriculture teacher. My mother was a homemaker. I also called her the professional social worker without the title, but she was helping everybody in our community day in and day out. I really cared about my community. Every single day, I was just blessed to have incredible neighbors, have incredible friends that I grew up with that are still long-time friends. And I wanted to make sure my little town continued to thrive and to grow. So I became involved in local government. I don't know what I was thinking sometimes because someone asked me to be on a planning commission, and I said, I have no clue what a planning commissioner does. But I was appointed, and all of a sudden, I knew what a planning commissioner did. And then I moved on, and I ran as a city council member because there was only one woman at one time on the council, and I would get a little bit irritated that we couldn't get enough legislation through in our little city. Then I became the first woman mayor in the city of Winters, and then I also served on regional water projects. I worked on housing. I worked with SACOG on transportation. And let me tell you, being from a small town, you know how to do everything because you just don't have a staff. And so it really prepared me for being in the legislature. So I love what I do. And those of you that you know me, I can't wait to come to work. Every day is a challenge. Every day I'm trying to help my constituents. And I work with an incredible team because you can't do this without a team. I have people that work for me in the Napa area. I have people that work for me in Davis, and then I have my staff. But I look forward to the challenges every day. So many years ago, I guess it shouldn't be that long ago, I feel time flies, I wanted to improve the health and well-being of my constituents in Winters. We have, like many communities, seniors that are not taken well care of. There's not like a home or somewhere that people can thrive. There's not a senior community center. And I want to make sure that we took care of uninsured people in our community. And so we came together, and with a partnership and with our medical team in Winters in our little town, we formed what we call the Winters Healthcare. It's a nonprofit community clinic that's been in operation for over 20 years. And near the clinic, I had a vision when I was mayor, is that one day I was going to be there because I've lived in Winter since 1957, and I wanted to make sure I was going to be taken care of. It's just the way it is, right? So right next door to the clinic, we built affordable senior housing complex so the folks could live close to services as they needed them. And along that line, the county said, well, across the street in an old medical facility, they put in county services. We ended up we had an existing grocery store, and a bank went in. So our seniors had an easy way to go from point A to point B, and to make sure that they were part of the community. But I'm a senior as well, and I'm aware of the special needs of the aging population. And one day, and I hope it's a little bit longer, I will end up using those services in my community myself. So I plan on continue fighting for senior rights and the issues that we value and care about most. So as you know, with the Master Plan on Aging, we have prioritized the needs of older adults throughout the state, and we have a blueprint for ensuring how we achieve meaningful outcomes for our seniors. My colleagues and I in the legislature have worked in a number of bills that align with the goals of our state's Master Plan on Aging. So I'm going to just give you a little synopsis of some of the stuff that I've worked on and my colleagues. Telehealth expansion, so we can connect with our doctors and pharmacists in the comfort and safety of our homes. I fought for that for so long because I also fought for broadband, internet for all. And many of my colleagues felt, when they're living in big urban areas, that everybody had internet. But we didn't, did we? And so I had to convince them, and I started that particular policy. And it took me 4 years and COVID to get it through. Now, how sad is that? Is it took COVID to have my colleagues realize that not everybody had broadband connectivity. But nevertheless, we now have it, and it includes that we make sure our seniors are less isolated and can connect with their family and their friends and healthcare providers. And as we know, is one of the toughest things that's happened to me is about 10 years ago, my dad passed away, and he was lonely. And I think to myself, if he could have had the opportunity to see what we can do with a Zoom, what we could do with FaceTime with our family and loved ones that live across the country, he would be so excited because he always wanted to see the grandkids. He always wanted to see all of us. But you know what? It's so nice to know that people can now have connectivity with their family and their loved ones. We protected the rights of residents in skilled nursing facilities. We've done various bills, I've done numerous of those, to ensure that the residents and their family members are fully informed about the care and the treatment they receive. Alzheimer's. There are approximately 690,000 individuals in California living with Alzheimer's, and that number is expected to double by 2040. So we updated and expanded membership to the Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders Advisory Committee to reflect the changing needs of this growing population and to ensure that more stakeholders' voices are heard. One of my best friends, I've known since we were 5 years old, passed away at 52 years old with Alzheimer's. And it was so devastating, and since that day, I've been committed to work in this field. Another friend that worked for Intel, she was the vice president. And she comes in with her office and with her husband and says, Cecilia, we need some help. Alzheimer's, and so we're trying to help out those families that are dealing with it. We have worked on supporting our unpaid family health caregivers, ensuring that a well-trained, culturally competent workforce. Unpaid family caregivers provide a critical service to our older adults, and they face challenges navigating the healthcare system, balancing their jobs, and providing for their loved ones' needs. We all can relate to that. We don't need to tell stories, but we all can relate to that. So these are just a few of the issues I've worked on, but as you can see, the needs of the aging population are always on my mind. Finally, I want to leave you with one of the most important issues I have worked on since starting my service in the Assembly. For 7.5 years, I have worked on Proposition 5, which you will find on the ballot in November. And you might say, well, what's that about? It's about local jobs. It's about local investment, local control, your cities and counties, local control, and local accountability. You know, let's face it, our local communities are struggling. On top of dealing with the housing crisis, they cannot afford to provide basic food or public safety infrastructure, even if that means just building a new senior center. It takes a partnership between members of a community like yourselves and the local leaders you elect to first identify a problem and develop a plan to fix that problem, and then come up with a plan that is community-focused and transparent. So I just want to say Prop 5 is very simple, and it's optional. Do you hear the word? Optional. A city doesn't have to use it. They can use it. It benefits the city, but it's optional. It will give local communities and local governments a funding tool to work with their communities, however they decide. And if that tool doesn't work for your community, you don't have to use it. So, you look around your community right now, there's sidewalks that are cracked, people fall. There's sewer systems and water issues that we have in all of our communities. We need new fire departments, and I know a lot of you may not think so, but if you go inside of those, they don't have a place for a woman to stay as a firefighter. They get a closet, and to remodel an old fire department is very costly. So there's lots of ways someone could use the infrastructure: roads, parks, more broadband, senior center. Right now, local governments can propose a general tax, and you've seen them in your city before, for their communities, and it only requires a vote of 50% plus one. But a general tax, as we talk about, proposal contains absolutely zero accountability measures. Prop 5 initiatives require a 55% supermajority for passage. 55% is a supermajority, and it's equipped with strict, very strict accountability measures to keep our local governments accountable. Now, if a supermajority wants a new fire station and a senior citizen center, they should be able to work with their local government on these projects. So keep that in mind, is that it is important that we keep our cities thriving. This is opt-in. It's not a tax. It just changes the voter threshold, adds additional tool for your cities from 67% to 55% if your city decides to run a local initiative. 67% tells me that 1/3 of your community overrides the 67%. And is that fair? So we're supported, Prop 5 is supported by the California Professional Firefighters, Habitat for Humanity, so we can help build some homes with them, the California Alliance of Retired Americans, the California Nurses Association, the League of California Women, the League of Women Voters, the California Federation of Teachers, the Middle Class Taxpayers Association, the League of California Cities, the American Society of Civil Engineers, and many, many more. So I want to remind you, it really does take a village. It takes a village to change and have your community thrive. We can't sit back and wait for something to happen. We need to make change now. And I know you all care about your communities, and we all want to make them better. That is why I cannot stress how critical it is for your support in November for Prop 5. Our communities will thrive. I know that. So to wrap this up, I would like to once again thank you for having me today and thank the department for hosting. My only ask is that you all continue to do your incredible work and drive aging conversation as partners with us at the legislature, because many of you have innovative ideas and expertise that we need. You know, sometimes we think we know it all over in that white building. I can guarantee you we don't. So we need your feedback. So I want to thank you again for your support. Thank you for having me today, and God bless.
Thank you to our Assembly Majority Leader, Cecilia Aguiar Curry, who was part of the master plan from the very beginning in the first legislation that was enacted. It is now my pleasure to introduce to the audience anyone who was in budget hearings this year is quite familiar with the words and face of Dr. Corey Jackson, Assembly Member from the 60th District. Dr. Jackson's district includes Riverside County. He chairs the influential Budget Subcommittee Number 2 on Human Services and serves on the Assembly Human Services Committee. Dr. Jackson is a member of the California Legislative Black Caucus, the California Legislative LGBTQ Caucus, and the California Legislative Native American Caucus. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Corey Jackson.
Hey, hey, how's everyone doing? Wake up! If I can fake it, you can fake it. All right. It is my honor to be with you today to celebrate and advocate for California's Master's Plan for Aging. And I have to tell you, as soon as I was sworn in last year, as a freshman member, I was immediately appointed chair of the Policy Human Services Committee. And of course, if you are a trained social worker like myself, I have a master's and a doctorate in social work. Here's some MSWs in the house, that's what I'm talking about. The leadership of the legislature really does respect the profession, and so immediately they put us in charge of California's social safety net. And then, of course, this year with Speaker Rivas, he made me chair of the Budget Subcommittee on Human Services. Now, for those that remember, usually it's the Budget Sub 1 for Health and Human Services. But the Speaker, in his wisdom, decided to separate Human Services and Health to make sure that we can take deeper dives into what is needed and to set clear priorities and to make sure we have time to meet with each and every group or person who is working on the issue. And that's exactly what I've been doing. You know, older adults, we know, continue to make a larger percentage of our population. So this rise in our aging population means that California will need to adjust our social safety needs to serve the growing population. During this break of the legislature, I've really been pondering a key question. What does a 21st century social safety net look like for California? What are its key components? One thing is for sure, is that our current social safety net does not meet the needs of our current population. It is still possible right now that someone who is enrolled in CalFresh and CalWorks can still fall into homelessness. We have got to change that. And I know for sure, as I continue to look at the data, senior homelessness, senior poverty is the next crisis for California if we do not act now. And what I mean by act now, I mean it is time to realign, reform, and add new programs to our social safety net. Which is why even when we had one of our toughest budget years in a long time, I was still able to ensure that our pilot program for guaranteed income now includes seniors. Now, why? I don't care if they keep calling it a pilot. It ain't gonna be no pilot when I'm done, right? So I wanted to make sure seniors were already on the list so that when we expand it, we know that the best thing that we can give our seniors is unconditional, regular money that they can spend on their own needs. Whether it could be for food, it could be for prescription drugs, it could be for home support services. Whatever they need, it's time for us to get out of that government knows what's better for you, right? It is a social work principle. It's a social work principle that the client are experts in their own lives. And it's time to empower them to make those decisions for themselves. Now, it's also clear this, and my own seniors back home has made it clear to me, very clear. I might need extra security if I don't follow through. And that is that they want to see opportunities to either stay in their own homes or transition to senior living, right? Because one thing is for sure, they do not want to go back and live with their kids. They said, no, they left my house. I didn't want them coming back. I'm not going back there, right? Trying to tell me what to do, right? But the idea is that they still have a sense of self-determination. And they have a vision for themselves in terms of what quality of life looks like. And it is our sacred responsibility as a state to do two things: to set up our young people for success and to make sure that our seniors are aging with the dignity and respect that they deserve because they paved the way for us. We cannot call ourselves a golden state, a California for all, if our young people don't have new paths of opportunity, and if we continue to allow our seniors to dip into poverty, dip into homelessness, and not provide them with the necessary services that they need to continue to live a life as they see fit. So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm all in. One thing I have made sure that, one thing I'm committed to doing is that I am not here to add more money to a broken system. I'm not here to maintain the status quo. My goal is to continue to reform our systems, update our systems, and to making sure that and to make sure that our systems are even more nimble. Because the conditions of our economy, the conditions of our communities continue to rapidly change more frequently. which means we have got to make sure that we get out of our own way, that we can quickly assess what the state is of our population, and making sure that we have the necessary pathway to make those tweaks as we go. Now, we know we have to do more in terms of in-home supportive services as well. I have two grandparents now in which my parents are taken care of. Luckily, my mother is a retired nurse, and so now she is putting her skills in taking care of her mother. And then my dad is taking care of her mother and his mother. And as a matter of fact, I remember that my fraternal grandmother made it clear, I'm not leaving my house. You're going to have to move in with me. So my dad had to pick up his stuff. And she said, this is where I'm going to die. Now you can come help me or just leave me alone, but you're not sending me nowhere, right? So what does that mean? That means that at some point, we all will have these stories, right? And more, my maternal grandmother is also dealing with issues of dementia. And it doesn't matter how well you're trained. Again, my mother's a retired nurse. Don't matter how well you're trained, it'll wear you out. Right? No matter how much you love someone, it'll wear you out, right? Some of you are still married. You still wear out. You may love them, they still wear you out. Right? That's why you here, because you didn't want to stay at home. Right? But the idea is that we have to create more webs of support to allow people to continue to serve with love, but have opportunities to take a break so that we can stay and maintain and be our best selves to the people that we love. But that doesn't just happen on its own. It has to be intentional. And so every time I have, matter of fact, in 2 weeks from now, I'm having a listening session just for the seniors in terms of aging, to make sure that we have less formal ways to communicate and more ways to be able just to brainstorm. What's next? Because as the economy gets better, senior funding should get better too. Don't let nobody tell you California ain't got no money. Right? Don't let nobody tell you, oh, this is a tough budget year. We're not sure. You may not want to ask for anything this year. If you don't ask, I guarantee you there's 10 people taking your place. Right? It's impossible for the 5th largest economy in the world to not have the money. What we don't have is priorities. And so I am determined. I am determined to making sure that we do right. And if this never becomes a crisis, we can thank God that we did our job. Thank you all very much for having me.
Thank you again, Dr. Jackson, for joining us. And you demonstrate that older adults and people with disabilities and family caregivers are a priority. Thank you so much for your leadership, and we know that you're all in. Thank you for being with us. I'd like to now invite Judy Guion of Office of Dr. Jasmeet Bains to the stage. Judy will be joining us on behalf of the chair of the Assembly Committee on Aging and Long-Term Care, chaired by Dr. Bains, who is a member of the California Asian American Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus and a member of the California Legislative Women's Caucus. And there you are, Judy. You're so quiet. And Judy has a special presentation for us today.
Well, as Director Morris said, my name is Judy Guion, and I work for Assemblymember Dr. Jasmeet Bains. She is the chair of the Aging and Long-Term Care Committee, and sadly, she was not able to make it here today, and she sends her regrets. But I am very honored and grateful to be here on her behalf to present. Can we go ahead?
You get to
Okay. It's an honorary resolution to celebrate the amazing 50 years of CDA and all the remarkable work and accomplishments that they've done. So, congratulations, CDA.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. And thank you for coming in person. Thank you, Judy. And I think is Elizabeth Fuller here in the room anywhere also? Committee consultant to the Assembly Aging and Long-Term Care Committee. Thank you so much for the resolution. It also acknowledges the master plan for aging. And at our break today, we're going to be celebrating lots of major milestones in our aging network. The California Commission on Aging also celebrated its 50th year in 2024. To all of our commissioners, past and present. And we have the California Caregiver Resource Centers celebrated their 40th anniversary this year, are celebrating. And this is the 25th anniversary of the Olmstead decision. So we have lots of milestones to celebrate at our break today.